They say opposites attract, and there's plenty of examples out there to prove it. The world is full of unlikely friendships that on the outside make no sense at all. But it's those unlikely pairings between humans and animals that we're interested in today. Today, we're all about the weird and wonderful relationships between humans and their unusual pets. These curious creatures and their owners are truly something else. Ready to meet them? Let's get it on! Pet buffalo. When you try and imagine your perfect pet, what comes to mind? Cat, dog, maybe even a parrot. I bet you weren't thinking about a hulking 6-foot-tall, 2,500-pound buffalo. Well, for a small number of insane people, their choice of companion is odd to say the least. Ronnie and Sharon Bridge share their Texas home with a wild thing, a massive, lumbering 14-year-old pet buffalo. He's got his own room, loves watching cartoons on TV, and despite his massive size, Wild Thing apparently has manners, tiptoeing slowly and carefully through the house without knocking or breaking anything. He even takes himself outside to take care of business. With Ronnie claiming that they never taught Wild Thing not to pee in the house, it makes me wonder, how do you train a buffalo? Way up north in Alberta, Canada, Jim and Linda Sautner had the same pet idea. Bailey Jr. had been a part of the family since birth, and as he's grown, it's taken some getting used to. Bailey Jr. is apparently a huge fan of the open road, so naturally, Jim took to his car with an angle grinder, removing the roof and windows to allow his best friend to ride shotgun. Now that's something you don't see every day. The Crocodile Whisperer. When Chito Shedden, a local Costa Rican fisherman who was walking the banks of the Parismino River one day, the last thing he expected was to stumble upon a 16-foot, 1,000-pound prehistoric killing machine. But that's exactly what happened. An enormous American crocodile, later named Poncho, lay spread out on the riverbank. But something wasn't quite right. Chito quickly discovered that Poncho had been shot by a farmer in the hand and left eye, and if he didn't act fast, the poor croc wouldn't last much longer. Taking the injured crocodile home, Chito nursed Poncho back to full health until the time came to release him back into the lake. Chito said a tearful goodbye and went home alone. The next morning, Chito awoke to find Poncho sleeping on this front veranda. The two became inseparable over the years, forming a special bond that saw them spend hours every day swimming and playing together. Poncho even learned to respond to his name over time. Moral to the story? Always help an injured croc, because if you don't, it might come back to bite you in the end. Adolfo Karim and Kiara. Way before Joe Exotic ruined having a big cat as a pet, Adolfo Karim showed the world what true animal compassion looks like. Adolfo rescued the lioness cub from terrible conditions in Mexico, relocating her to a wild animal reservation to raise and train her in safety. Setting on the name Kiara, Adolfo would over the next few years become Kiara's sort of adoptive father. He would feed her, train her, play with her, and the two became linked with some unspoken bond that both of them understood. As Kiara got older and outgrew the reserve she'd called home for her adolescence, Adolfo made the painful decision to send the almost fully grown Kiara to a sanctuary in Mexico. Their drawn-out goodbye was captured on social media and captivated audiences around the world. It would be a year before Adolfo would visit his adoptive daughter, and despite sanctuary staff warning him things could go south and fast, especially when Kiara started growling with excitement, Adolfo entered the cage and Kiara bounded towards her dad, tackling him to the ground in happiness. Their bond had endured a full year apart, and they just took off where things left off. I could tell you that big cats are just mindless killers, but I'd be clearly lying after seeing their special bond. Kevin Richardson. Hyenas get a bad rap, and I get it. They're vicious and not overly blessed in the cuteness department. Unfortunately, genetics aside, there's actually something awesome about owning a pet that will laugh at all your jokes. One person I know will agree is Kevin Richardson. He's known as the Lion Whisperer most days, but when he's not lazing about with the lions, he's hanging with hyenas. Hyenas have a complex social structure, and Kevin's had to learn to understand the cues and challenges to prevent himself getting seriously attacked by a power-hungry member of the pack. By asserting dominance and demonstrating strength, he earns the respect of the pack to the point that the hyenas become playful and affectionate. But just as a PSA, just because Kevin can charm hyenas into acting like playful dogs, it doesn't mean you can. The hyenas might be laughing, but it's not funny. The Lion King. Dean Schneider is a Swiss conservationist who left his high-paying job in Switzerland and moved to South Africa to set up the Hakuna Matata Oasis. Translating to no limits in Swahili, the Hakuna Matata Oasis is a 300-hectare sanctuary for lions, impalas, kudus, zebras, hyenas, baboons, and many others. He seems to have a certain affinity with the lions, and while I don't know the membership rules of joining a pride, Dean says he's been accepted by the primary male and allowed to reside as a lesser male. But if you thought cuddling a lioness was scary, try 4, 5, or 6. The lions allow him to get up close and personal, even at dinner time, as they ferociously rip zebras apart just a few feet away. Schneider's big cat family consists of lions born in captivity and is not open to the public for tours, guides, and especially not trophy hunting. When it comes to protecting animals for Dean, it's a matter of pride. Jessica the Hippo. Although considered cute by many, the average hippo generally weighs up to 4.5 tons and is notoriously known as the world's deadliest mammal, responsible for killing approximately 500 people a year in Africa. I'm sure this thought crossed the minds of Tony and Shirley Joubert when they found a tiny infant hippo washed up on the shore of a river in South Africa's Kruger Park. She was a newborn with her umbilical cord still attached and was too tiny and exhausted to lift herself off the riverbank. The Jouberts nurtured the baby hippo with an improvised milk solution, and before long, Jessica was a fully grown 1.2-ton monster. She very quickly outgrew the house and now lives wild with neighboring hippos. Jessica is also an acclaimed movie star with more than 80 film and documentary appearances. It's understandable that people fear hippos because of how dangerous they can be, but after seeing Jessica interact with her owners, it really changes how we see them. Youkai, the giant wolf. Ever hear about the boy who cried wolf? Well, I don't blame him. Not after meeting a 12-year-old giant wolf named Youkai. The massive beast, measuring in at 5'4" and weighing 120 pounds, is basically a human-sized dog. When he's not cosplaying a dire wolf in the Battle of Winterfell, Youkai spends his days relaxing at the Shy Wolf Sanctuary in Florida after his previous owners couldn't look after him anymore. He's not a purebred wolf either. Youkai is 87.5% gray wolf, 8.6% Siberian Husky, and 3.9% German Shepherd. Wolves with mixed canine DNA are affectionately called wolf dogs, and they're notoriously difficult to manage as pets. They can be unpredictable, untrainable, and are considered a dangerous breed in some regions. Youkai was first surrendered to an animal shelter well known for its high kill rate. Fortunately, they contacted the Shy Wolf Sanctuary, who was able to offer him a permanent home. Spending most of his time eating, barking, and being bossed around by his smaller wolf girlfriend, Yukai's finally found his wolf pack. Casey and Brutus. When Casey Anderson found Brutus, he was a tiny bear cub the size of a squirrel, born in captivity at a bear reserve and would have spent the rest of his life in overcrowded cages. Casey adopted the bear, named him Brutus, and brought him home to live in Casey's personal wildlife sanctuary. Brutus grew up and became part of the family. And when I say grew up, Brutus stands at 7 feet tall and weighs over 900 pounds. Among Brutus's pastimes include swimming in the pool, sitting at the table for Thanksgiving dinner, and even made the cut as the best man at Casey's wedding. And just like other unusual celebrity pets, Brutus has a burgeoning acting career with small roles in the movies, among a couple others. Asian sheepshead wrasse. We've all seen some weird things in the past, but nothing tops the strange friendship shared between 79-year-old Japanese diver Hiroyuki Arakawa and his long-term flame Yuriko. What's so strange about their relationship, you may ask? Well, Yuriko is actually a fish. Yep, you heard right. For over 25 years, Hiroyuki has been descending the depths to meet a giant Asian sheepshead wrasse. As the custodian and tour guide for the underwater Shinto shrines of Tateyama Bay, Hiroyuki quickly got to know the marine life that called the shrines home. It was here that he found Yuriko one afternoon in 1992. The massive wrasse was injured, starving, and dangerously close to death. Hiroyuki nursed Yuriko back to health, feeding her 5 crabs a day until she recovered. For the next 25 years, Hiroyuki regularly visited Yuriko in, and to his amazement, the giant wrasse recognized him, rushing up and presenting her forehead to Hiroyuki to kiss. Despite their tiny brains, some species of fish have the limited ability of facial recognition, and scientists believe this is why the two have bonded so spectacularly. Either that or Hiroyuki was paying extra attention during Finding Nemo when Bruce said, "Fish are friends." Big Bird the pelican. After a particularly heavy storm off the coast of Tanzania, a baby pelican became separated from his flock. Exhausted, the pelican staggered ashore next to the Greystoke Mahale camp in Tanzania, where camp manager Jeffrey Condone decided to help the struggling bird. Unable to fly or hunt for himself without his flock, Big Bird relied on Jeffrey for food and companionship and would sit on the rear of his sea kayak every morning, learning and watching him fish. Concerned that he couldn't fly, staff at the camp spent weeks running up and down the beach flapping their arms trying to encourage the probably very confused pelican to try to fly. Eventually, the message was received, and Big Bird finally took to the sky. Shaky at first, but after no time was up and away. The benefit of having a cooperative pelican as a pet, being able to put a GoPro on Big Bird's beak as he does a lap around the lake. It's the very definition of a bird's eye view. Despite Big Bird's ability to leave whenever he wants, he keeps coming back to the camp. After all, he's around his flock. Psst, hey, you still there? Well, since you made it this far, here are all the shoutouts we promised everyone that commented on our previous video. If you want to be shouted out in our next upcoming video as well as the ones prior, just make sure you're subscribed to the channel and leave a comment down below saying, "Pick me." Once you're at it, you might as well leave a like too.